So the first test between the Wallabies and the Pumas is also not too far away. Kind of glad I didn't do the video this morning before I went to work, because there has been one big change for the Wallabies lineup, but I'll get to that in a minute. So these two teams, I mean, as much as Michael Cheika gets criticised, he has had pretty good success against the Pumas. He hasn't lost to them under his reign. Last 5 games they have played, the Wallabies have taken them all out with an average score of Wallabies 36, Pumas 19. So it's been fairly comfortable for Cheika's men over the Pumas since he's been in charge. Last time Argentina got a win over the Wallabies was 2014. That was in Mackenzie's days, and that was over in Argentina in the Rugby Championship. Now, I will put the teams in the description so you can have a look at the full lineups. But the big news for Australia today is that Michael Hooper has been withdrawn. He was initially named in the squad along with Pocock and Tui in that back row, but Hooper's out with injury. So Pocock is the new captain, which is an interesting one, because there's a lot of talk as to, you know, for as good as the Hooper-Pocock combination has been for Australia, perhaps it's kind of done its dash. Maybe he needs to switch to a more traditional number 8 rather than playing one of the world's best number 7s at number 8. Last week we had it kind of the other way around, with Pocock not playing and Hooper in at 7 with the more traditional Samu at number 8. Yeah, so I mean, that game wasn't the best for either team, so we'll see if this result kind of looks any different with that back line, kind of with a more back row with a more traditional kind of 6, 7, 8, although people still criticize him for having Tui in the back row as well. So I said, Pocock is captain, Samu is in, Ned Hannigan moves to the bench. He initially didn't make the squad. Israel Folau is back, and in kind of another big move, he's on the wing. So the Springboks have put Jesse Creel on the wing. So traditional, for the most part, he's been playing at 13, playing at 14. The All Blacks have got Ben Smith, who's one of the world's best 15s at 14. And the Wallabies going with one of the world's best 15s at 14. So it just seems to be a thing. If you're a really good guy in a position, you're going to end up in 14 jersey at some point. So that's Folau. One thing that will be interesting to watch, though, is with the Waratahs, they also played him at 14 in this season just gone. And his runs, jumping for high balls, cutting in from the wing, was a tactic that they employed a lot. So there's kind of the safety of somebody staying back, with Folau able to kind of cut in from the wing and compete for high balls. They reckon he jumps better in that direction. That's why he doesn't play 11 from memory. So, yeah, how he goes on the wing will be an interesting one to see. So, yeah, Dane Haylett-Petty's at 15. Beale continues at 10. So, I mean, I guess he didn't disgrace himself last week, but, yeah, the experiment continues. Coleman is back. He's had his child, which is what his kind of pregnant wife pulled him out. Not pulled him out, but he wanted to go and be with his wife last week. So he's back in the squad this week from the bench. So it's Arnold and Rodda in the second row. For the Pumas, it's less so much in the way of changes, but Lozana is injured, so Matera comes into a starting job, which is, I mean, I thought they were resting Matera last week anyway, to be fair. Bertranou, Creevy, and Chaparro are 3, 2, and 1, so that's your front row. For the Pumas, I think it's Medranow's first start this season. Bertranou comes in at number 9, and again, kind of like Matera, I feel like they played Landajo and Kubeli last week to give Bertranou a break, perhaps targeting this Wallabies game as one where they could get a win. I don't know. I mean, Bertranou has been Ledesma's favoured number 9 throughout the season at the Jaguares, so it would make sense to me that he sees him as his first choice number 9 for the Pumas as well. And yeah, sure enough, Matera and Bertranou getting starts this week, although, like I said, Lozana is out. So perhaps that's the reason for Matera. Still, I thought it was because of his saving these guys for the big game, I guess, the more winnable one. Not to give the Wallabies any kind of discredit, but yeah, the All Blacks are pretty hard to beat. So yeah, Lavanini and Petty continue in the second row. They were really impressive last week, so I'm hoping they can kind of continue their work. Lavanini especially, I put him in my team of the week because he was really on song. So yeah, I mean, Australia not in the best form. And Argentina are really feeling that kind of Ledesma effect at the moment. He's carried that form from the Jaguares over to the Pumas. So, I mean, in terms of momentum, you feel like the Pumas are kind of on the up, whereas the Wallabies have kind of been on the way down and perhaps a bit stagnant at the minute. But I still feel like the Wallabies aren't that far from getting things right. Cheika still obviously having a bit of a play around with what he thinks is going to be his best lineup going into a World Cup year. Lukhan, interestingly, the assistant coach at the Wallabies, had an interesting little... he had a bit of a go at Mario Ledesma, kind of criticizing his coaching, but it was obviously a joke. But he just did it with the most straight face you've ever seen. The guy must play poker like a champion. Because if you didn't know he was joking, or perhaps if English wasn't your first language, you might think that he's serious. And the journalists may have even thought he was serious, but he was definitely joking. But yeah, if you haven't seen that, you should go Google it because it was pretty funny. I think this is Australia's is it their last game on home soil? It is for the All Blacks this weekend as well, so they'll want to go off with a win. It's on the Gold Coast, which is not one of the traditional grounds for the Wallabies to play at. I know they do play there every now and again. So I'm hoping for a good turnout. There were way too many empty seats at Suncorp for the last game. So let's hope they get a decent crowd out on the Gold Coast. Hopefully get a few tourists who are kind of, I guess, in Australia to see the sights and perhaps pick up a rugby game as well. I don't know. I'm hoping for a better crowd anyway. I had a look online to see, and the buy tickets option was still available for that game. So I'm assuming tickets are still available. I didn't proceed because it wanted me to create an account and I couldn't be bothered. But yeah, it does seem like there are tickets still available. So I'm hoping that they'll sell some more. And yeah, Aussie Rugby could certainly use a win. But Mario Ledesma and his time with the Pumas could certainly use a win as well to really perhaps push themselves forward and say, hey, we are the second best team in this rugby championship, because I don't think at this point anyone's going to argue that the All Blacks are still a cut above. But who is that second team is a pretty big question. We'll see how things go. Like I said, teams are in the description, so you guys can have a look and let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the game, how you think this one's going to go. Can Ledesma break the duck for the Pumas against Cheika's Wallabies, or do you think this week the Wallabies kind of take that step up? We know they can compared to recent form. But you guys let me know what you think, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.